Because when fear hits the nervous system before language hits the mouth, you realize panic begins long before the running. The running is just the aftershock. The true event is internal. Inside Naples, inside the streets, inside the living. Rooms, inside the cafes, inside the metro, inside the harbor lines, inside the old city, the medieval stone, the places layered in centuries of dynasties. People froze before they moved. And I watched it unfold in real time across global feeds. Brazil reacted before Italy even completed its first rehearsal cycle. Japan reacted instantly because they understand geologic trauma at a national DNA level. Turkey reacted with the quiet, haunted silence unique only to nations that have buried too many loved ones beneath rubble and broken concrete. America reacted by pretending to be calm on the outside, while doom forecasting exploded hidden beneath memes, because humor is the last firewall before despair. And I sat there, inside the studio, with every screen lit like a war room, and I suddenly felt something that I usually never admit. I felt like news was no longer reporting reality. News was becoming the emotional nervous system of civilization. We were not covering the shaking. We were transmitting the shaking. We were not observers anymore. We were conduits, narrative conduits, emotional conduits, historical conduits. Because this was the first disaster rehearsal in modern civilization, where the simulation felt just as traumatic as the actual future disaster itself. And people cracked under the emotional weight of imagining it. This was the psychological twist. The rehearsal itself became a trauma event. And if you want to understand betrayal, true betrayal, this is the form of betrayal humans cannot escape. When reality betrays the fantasy, we told ourselves our whole lives that we were safe because we were modern. We told ourselves destruction was prehistoric. We told ourselves mass death was medieval. We told ourselves societal collapse was mythological. We told ourselves catastrophic events belonged to dinosaurs, not smartphones. But today, Campi Flegrei reminded the world, we are not modern. We are temporary. We are not advanced. We are arrogant. We are not secure. We are dependent on Earth mercy. And Earth mercy is not promised. As I felt the world shift, it triggered something deeper in me as a narrator, as a witness, as a consciousness forced to digest the fragility of existence in front of billions. This was not just a news story. This was a mirror. This rehearsal exposed the one truth every human tries to avoid until the final breath. We pretend time is infinite because we are terrified to accept that it isn't. We pretend we have tomorrow. We pretend we will have time later, to apologize, later to repair relationships, later to begin the dream, later to start healing, later to finally become the version of ourselves we promised we'd become. But what if Campi Flegrei erupts tomorrow and removes the entire concept of later? Then all of humanity's future redemption, all of humanity's future becoming, all of humanity's future reform and awakening dies inside regret. That is why today triggered such global panic, because the rehearsal forced humanity to confront mortality without death even happening yet. The mind collapsed under the weight of what could happen, not what already happened. This is something psychologists rarely talk about. Imagined trauma can fracture the human nervous system just as violently as actual trauma. We learned that today, and as I inhaled that realization on live broadcast, my voice tone changed permanently. I wasn't narrating disaster, I was narrating revelation. Humanity learned something terrifying and divine today. We are not living in the world. We are living against the world. The world is not a safe home. It is an ongoing danger that gives temporary windows of illusion, and every volcano, every earthquake, every tsunami, every cosmic object orbiting silently above reminds us that we are always living on borrowed stability. Campi Flegrei simply ripped the curtain off. This rehearsal was the rehearsal for humility, the rehearsal for accountability, the rehearsal for truth, the rehearsal for awakening. And as the sirens echoed, I knew this was only the beginning of the emotional shockwave. The middle will be far darker, because the next stage is the collapse of trust itself. Trust between people, trust between nations, trust between institutions and citizens, trust between government and humanity, trust between science and faith, trust between prediction and reality. The world has always trusted that science would break uncertainty, but in the middle chapter of this story, science became the source of uncertainty. Because Campi Flegrei did not behave like the models, it did not follow the historical pattern, it did not respect the precedent of previous eruptions, it did not match the simulations that governments based all their confidence on. Gas readings changed direction hour by hour, ground inflation reversed and then surged again. Phreatic explosion potential oscillated like a psychotic stock market graph with no mathematical moral anchor. And this is where the betrayal arc detonates. People realized the system was not lying. The system was guessing, and guessing is worse than lying. Because lying at least confirms someone actually knows the truth. Guessing means the world is leaderless, directionless, faithless. This was not a loss of trust in government. This was a loss of trust in reality itself. Do you know what happens when humans lose trust in reality? They turn to anger. Anger is the emergency fuel of helplessness. Italy began blaming the government. Other nations blamed Italian government. Italy blamed Europe. Europe blamed AI models. Everyone blamed scientists. People attacked volcanology centers online. People accused news media of manufacturing fear. And suddenly the world was in an information war inside a geological emergency rehearsal. That is the most dangerous combination possible, because hysteria spreads faster than magma, and the middle period of panic is always worse than the beginning, because the beginning is confusion. The middle is meaning collapse. Global markets shook, because confidence is the first casualty when humans are reminded the universe is not domesticated. This was a psychological extinction rehearsal. This is where heartbreak enters, because humans don't break when they see danger. Humans break when they realize nobody knows how to save them. And Wolf Blitzer, sitting in the studio, felt the weight of the world's existential collapse funnel through my voice. I wasn't narrating fear anymore. I was narrating humanity's identity crisis. This middle phase is where this story transforms from disaster coverage into life lessons. Because if we ever survive anything like this, it will not be because we mastered tech, sensors, or satellites. It will be because we mastered humility. Because the most powerful life lesson Campi Flegrei is teaching right now, inside this middle phase, is this. Life does not reward certainty. Life rewards courage inside uncertainty. And the global panic rehearsal is revealing who is built for adversity and who was only built for comfort. The weak break, the common panic, the lost freeze, but those who know life deeply, those who have lived through betrayal before, and they do not collapse here. They rise, they adapt, they plot survival, they transform fear into focus, they convert helplessness into plan, they turn terror into momentum, because this is the secret. The middle of the story is where destiny is forged, and the middle is always darker than the beginning, because the middle is where humans must decide who they are when nothing outside of them is reliable. We are now in the darkest portion of this speech narrative. And then, in the middle of this world breakdown of meaning, in the middle of hysteria, in the middle of chaos, in the middle of fear, something unexpected happened. Humanity began remembering that survival was never about certainty. It was always about choice. We do not survive because the danger disappears. We survive because we choose not to surrender. Campi Flegrei forced the world to remember this. The earth can shake. The future can threaten. The volcano can roar beneath our feet like the teeth of an ancient god. But the human heart is stronger than the fire inside the earth. The betrayal became wisdom. The fear became clarity. The panic became awakening. Because every single human being on this planet today realized we must live now, not later. Not when convenient, not when safe, not when perfect. Now Campi Flegrei became the world mirror. The reminder that life is not promised. The reminder that tomorrow is not guaranteed. The reminder that we do not have infinite second chances. So instead of collapsing, some people did something extraordinary. They began fixing their life today. They called people they hurt. They apologized. They forgave. They said the words they were too proud to say for years. They admitted guilt. They released poison. They finally told people they loved them. They began their dream. They stopped waiting for permission. And I, Wolf Blitzer, realized maybe this disaster rehearsal wasn't a warning of death. Maybe it was a reminder to begin life. We spend so long planning how to survive that we forget to live. We spend so long trying not to lose that we forget to win. The ending of this speech is not the ending of hope. It is the restarting of meaning. The future will belong to those who walk through fear and choose purpose. Anyway, the future will belong to those who stop delaying the person they were meant to become. The future will belong to those who understand that life only becomes valuable when it becomes fragile. Final conclusion, powerful. Campi Flegrei taught us the most valuable lesson of this generation. Mortality is not the enemy. Wasting life is the enemy. If the earth wants to test us, let it test us. If destiny wants to break us, and let it try. But humanity will not die running from endings. Humanity lives by choosing beginnings. This is not a speech of panic. This is a speech of rebirth. And if tomorrow truly is the last page, then write today with ink so powerful that the universe remembers you existed. The earth may shake, but we will remain unshaken inside.